I swear, some moments in life feel so surreal you expect a hidden camera crew to jump out. That's exactly how it felt when my wife suddenly decided to introduce new policies. She stood in the doorway like she was posing for the cover of Queen Monthly, chin up, arms crossed, that royal attitude she randomly unlocks when she feels bold. "From now on," she said slowly, "intimacy is a privilege. You have to earn me." I blinked, not because I was shocked, but because my left shoelace suddenly decided to become a philosophical labyrinth. I looked up at her. She expected fireworks. She expected me to beg, negotiate, collapse spiritually. Instead, I tied the shoelace, stood up straight and said, "All right, just don't be surprised if you see me with someone." I said it like, "Don't forget it might rain later." Her face did something interesting, like Windows trying to reboot after a blue screen. A tiny spark of confusion, a micro panic. Then she hid it behind her "I'm still the queen" expression. "You're joking," she tried. "Not really," I answered calmly. "Your rules, not mine." And I walked past her to grab my jacket. I didn't slam doors, didn't sigh dramatically, didn't do the tragic, "Oh no, my wife rejected me" performance many guys fall into. I just went to the gym. 2 hours later, I came back sweaty, tired, calm. She peeked from the living room like a raccoon checking if the kitchen was safe. "You were gone long," she said. "Gym." "Oh, that's all. Just oh." Like she needed that data point to update her internal threat assessment. I showered, changed into a clean t-shirt, and made dinner for myself. Simple pasta, nothing poetic. She hovered nearby, pretending to check emails, but trust me, not a single neuron of hers was reading anything. "You didn't make extra?" she asked carefully. "You didn't say you were hungry." "Oh, right." Again with the "oh." It was becoming her new personality trait. After dinner, I sat on the couch scrolling through messages from work. She floated into the room and sat down next to me, not on her usual armchair, not on the opposite side of the couch, next to me. Close enough that her knee touched mine. Normally, she sits far enough that a small dog could comfortably nap between us. Tonight? No space for even a mouse. I glanced at her. "You need something?" "No," she said quickly. "Just relaxing." "Right. Relaxing." On my side of the couch, leaning slightly my way, acting like gravity had a crush on her. Her eyes kept drifting to my phone. Not aggressively, more like she was checking if the screen would spontaneously turn into a photo of me hugging a mysterious stranger. It didn't, so she tried a different tactic. "How was the gym?" she asked. "Good." "Just good?" "Yeah. Did you talk to someone there?" I paused at that one. "What? You want me to interview people while lifting weights?" She made a tiny annoyed face but tried to mask it. "I'm just asking." "Well, no," I said. "Didn't talk to anyone." Her shoulders relaxed like she'd been secretly holding her breath. And that's when it hit me. She expected me to panic. Instead, she was the one spiraling. Perfect. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. I grabbed my bag, put on cologne, and got ready to leave. She slid into the hallway like she'd been waiting behind a curtain for her dramatic entrance. "You're going somewhere?" The tone, calm on the surface, but underneath, full detective mode. "Work," I said. "You're dressed nice." "It's a job. I'm not going in pajamas." She pressed her lips together. "I didn't mean it like that." "Sure." She hesitated, then asked, "When will you be home?" "Not sure." Not sure was apparently the wrong answer because she blinked twice, the exact blink of a woman who expected control and suddenly doesn't have any. "Well, just text me," she said. "I'll see." And I walked out. That "I'll see" hit her like a shovel. I didn't look back, but I could feel that quiet freeze. The moment she realized she was no longer the only one making rules. During the day, she sent 3 messages. "Did you eat? Everything okay? When are you coming home?" I answered the last one. "Later." No emoji, no explanation. When I finally got home, she was in the kitchen making dinner. Not her usual, throw something in the microwave and call it gourmet style. She was chopping vegetables like a contestant on a cooking show trying not to get eliminated. "You're hungry, right?" she asked. "Yeah." She nodded like she was relieved she at least got one answer she hoped for. As we ate, she kept glancing at me, then at the table, then back at me, as if I was a bomb she was trying to defuse using outdated manuals. At one point she took a breath and said quietly, "You know, I didn't mean that phrase yesterday in a bad way." I cut a piece of chicken and answered calmly, "Then why did you say it as if you were the CEO of intimacy?" She choked on air and looked away. "No, I wasn't thinking." "I noticed," I said. She froze. Not offended, stunned. Like she wasn't used to me matching her tone with one of my own. We ate in silence for a bit, until she asked softly, "Are you upset?" "No." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." She fidgeted with her fork. "Because I want things to be good between us." "Same." She brightened for a second, then dimmed again, remembering she didn't control the script anymore. That evening she didn't go to her usual corner of the couch. She sat right next to me again, even closer than yesterday. Our legs fully touched now. She didn't pull away. I didn't either. But I didn't lean in. She shifted slightly, testing the waters. Then she laid a blanket over us. One blanket, not two. Cute attempt. A slow, careful move, like a cat crawling onto a bed pretending it's accidental. Finally, she whispered, "I like when you're close." I looked at her and said, "Aloud?" She swallowed. "Yes. Very." Her voice cracked on very. And for the first time since all this started, I understood one thing. She wasn't being sweet. She was being scared, not terrified, just suddenly aware that the game she announced, she might lose, and I wasn't even playing. The funny thing is, nothing dramatic changed on my side. I didn't go buy a leather jacket, start smoking on balconies and quoting philosophy on Instagram stories. I just tightened my life a bit. I went to the gym regularly. I worked, I slept, I shaved when I felt like it, got a decent haircut, started ironing shirts again instead of doing the office worker who gave up look. That alone, apparently, was enough to trigger a silent emergency meeting in her head. One evening I was standing in front of the mirror, buttoning a clean shirt for the next day. Nothing fancy, just a nice fit. She leaned on the doorframe and watched me like I was some rare exhibit. "You're dressing up lately," she said. "For work," I replied. "You didn't care that much before." "I didn't have as much motivation before." She squinted. "Motivation for what?" "To feel good in my own skin." She pressed her lips. "So you didn't feel good when, with me?" I turned to her. "I didn't say that. I said I didn't have motivation. Now I do." I didn't explain further. Let her think. "You're dressing up lately," she said. "For work," I replied. "You didn't care that much before." "I didn't have as much motivation before." She squinted. "Motivation for what?" "To feel good in my own skin." She pressed her lips. "So you didn't feel good when, with me?" I turned to her. "I didn't say that. I said I didn't have motivation. Now I do." I didn't explain further. Let her think. I walked up, looked at the pan, then at her. "Is it for you?" "For us," she corrected, too quickly. I washed my hands and sat down. She brought the plate to me like a waitress who secretly owns the restaurant. "Try it," she said, as if my opinion had suddenly become a Michelin star. I took a bite. It was actually good. Not bad. Her eyes brightened. "Just not bad." "Pretty good," I corrected. She smiled, relieved, and sat down opposite me. For about 5 seconds. Then she stood up, circled the table, and sat next to me instead, dragging her plate like it was a moving desk. I stared at her. "What?" she asked. "There are 3 other chairs," I said. "I like this one. Because it's next to me." "Is that a problem?" she replied, looking me straight in the eyes. "No," I said. "Just an observation." Her shoulder brushed against mine. She didn't move away. We ate. She kept stealing glances at my phone on the table. It didn't even light up, but she looked at it like it was an unexploded bomb. "You're quiet," she said. "I'm eating. You're usually, I don't know, more talkative." "Maybe I'm tired." She played with her fork. "Did you stay long at the gym?" "Yeah." "Were there many people?" I almost laughed. "Yes, it's a public place. You know what I mean." "There were people," I repeated. "Some were lifting weights, some were running, shocking stuff." She sighed, frustrated that I refused to walk into the trap. "Forget it." "Gladly." That night we sat in the living room. I put on some show to watch. She didn't argue about the choice like she usually does. No comments like, "This again?" or "Why do men watch this stuff?" She just nodded and said, "Okay." 10 minutes later, she disappeared. I thought she went to the bathroom or something. She came back with tea. For both of us. She set a mug in front of me. "Here." "What's this? A new loyalty program?" I asked. "Can I just make you tea? You usually ask first." "I know what you like," she snapped softly, then added quieter. "At least I hope I still do." I took a sip. "You do?" Somewhere inside her, a little scoreboard probably lit up with 1-1, remembered how he likes tea. The next days became a pattern. I'd be putting on shoes by the door. She'd appear, leaning on the wall. "Gym again?" "Mm-hmm." "How long?" "Don't know." "You never know," she said with a tiny pout. "Nobody knows the future," I answered, grabbing my bag. She rolled her eyes. Smartass. But the sarcasm had no sharp edges. It sounded more like habit than weapon. Once I was tying my laces and my phone buzzed on the shoe cabinet. She looked at the screen, then instantly turned away, like she'd burned her eyes. "Aren't you going to check?" she asked. "Later." "What if it's important?" "If it's important, they'll call." "So," she said casually, staring at the ceiling, "you don't have anyone who gets mad when you don't answer?" "No," I said. "I don't collect people like that." Her jaw moved slightly, but she kept quiet. In the evenings, the house changed tone. The sharp comments died out. No more. "You're always on your phone," said S. Prisrenium. No more sighs when I went to the gym. No more rolled eyes when I put effort into looking good. Instead, "Do you want me to iron that shirt for tomorrow?" "I can do it," I said. "I know, I'm just offering." "Thanks," I replied. "I'll handle it." She looked almost disappointed that I didn't hand her work. But I wasn't going to suddenly become a helpless child just because she woke up scared one morning. Another night, I was on the couch scrolling on my phone. She lowered the lights in the living room without asking, lit a candle on the table, and sat down next to me under the same blanket. Not on the other side, not at the edge, right next to me. She didn't talk for a while, just sat there, our shoulders almost glued together. After a few minutes, she leaned her head very lightly against my arm, so light that if I moved, she could pretend it never happened. I didn't move. Her fingers tugged at the blanket. "You're different lately," she said quietly. "How so?" "More calm, but not the I give up calm. More like, I know what I'm doing calm." "Maybe I do." "That's new," she muttered. I smirked. "You liked me when I was confused?" "I liked you when I was sure you'd always chase me," she said, then immediately winced. "Forget I said that." "No," I replied. "I think that's the most honest thing you've said in a while." She closed her eyes. "You're enjoying this." "I'm enjoying being honest, that's all." She lifted her head slowly and looked at me. There was no anger there, just a kind of careful fear, like she was standing on ice and testing every step. "I don't want us to be distant," she said. "We live in the same apartment," I replied. "We're not distant." "You know what I mean." "I know what you tried to do," I corrected. "And I know I don't want that model." She swallowed. "I get it." I didn't comment. Later that night, I was in bed, reading something on my phone. She went to shower. When she came back, she had clearly put in more effort than usual for Just going to sleep. Hair slightly styled, not in the usual messy bun. Soft top instead of the giant old t-shirt that says nope in faded letters. A bit of perfume, unmistakable even from the other side of the bed. She pretended to scroll through her own phone for a bit, then turned off her screen and moved closer. Not just turning to the side, closer. Closer, closer. She put a hand on my chest like it just accidentally landed there after a long flight. I didn't say anything. Her fingers moved slowly, tracing small circles. Her leg brushed against mine. She leaned in, and I could feel her breath on my neck. "Hey," she whispered. "Hey," I answered, eyes still on my phone. "You're not even looking at me," she complained softly. I locked the screen and turned my head. "Now I am." She held my gaze for a second longer than usual. "Do you still find me attractive?" "Yes." "That was fast," she said suspiciously. "I'm not confused about that part," I replied. Her lips twitched. "Okay, good." She leaned even closer, almost climbing on top of me, her hand sliding to my shoulder. "So, maybe we could—" "Before anything," I said quietly, "we need to clear a couple of things." She froze like someone hit pause. Her eyes searched my face. "Right now?" "Yes, right now." "I was trying to—" she began. "I know what you were trying," I cut her off, but gently. "I'm not rejecting that. I'm just not walking into it blindly like before." Her fingers tightened slightly on my shoulder. "This is really not the moment for a serious talk," she tried to joke, but her voice was thin. "For me, it's exactly the moment," I said. "Because if I don't say it now, we'll pretend everything is fine. And it's not." She inhaled slowly. "Okay, say it then." I took a breath, looking her straight in the eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was begging for entry into her world. I felt like I was setting the rules of mine. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't push her hand away. I didn't create drama. I just spoke the way a man speaks when he finally knows exactly what he will and will not allow in his life. "You tried to turn intimacy into a prize," I said calmly. "Something I'm supposed to earn. I'm not doing that." She swallowed hard, her fingers still on my shoulder, but they weren't moving anymore. They were clinging. "I know," she whispered. I said it stupidly. "It wasn't stupid. It was intentional," I corrected. "You said it like it was a rule." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Her eyes were doing that quick blink, the one she does when she wants to argue, but realizes there's no ground to stand on. "I didn't think you'd take it so seriously," she said. "I took it exactly as seriously as you wanted me to," I replied. "You just didn't expect pushback." She lowered her gaze. "Yeah, I didn't." We stayed like that for a moment. Me lying back against the headboard, her half leaning on me, the room quiet except for the faint hum of the heater. She finally spoke. "So what do you want to clear up?" "That I'm not living in a relationship where someone uses closeness as a tool," I said. "That's not happening. Not with me." She exhaled slowly, shoulders sagging. "Okay. And," I continued, "I'm not participating in games. Ever." She blinked up at me. "What games?" "I'm not—" I raised an eyebrow. She caught herself instantly and sighed. "Okay, fine. I was testing something." "That something," I said evenly, "was disrespectful." Her throat moved. "I know." "Good," I said. "Because I'm not interested in fighting for attention, or negotiating for affection, or earning basic closeness. If we're doing this, we're doing it honestly." There was a long pause, not awkward, just heavy. Then she nodded, slowly, like someone signing a contract they finally understand. "I want that too," she said quietly. I didn't rush to comfort her, didn't say, "I know," or "It's okay." She needed to sit with that truth for a moment. Then she moved closer, not seductively this time, just gently, and placed her forehead against my chest. "I don't want to lose you," she whispered. That line used to be my weakness, used to make me fold, Forgive instantly, forget everything. Not tonight. You won't, I said, if we're real with each other. Another silence. But this one felt grounded, calmer. She shifted again, lifting her head to look at me. The seduction was gone. The arrogance was gone. What was left was something quieter, something more human. So, she said slowly, what now? Now, I answered, we see what your actions look like, not your words. She nodded, biting her lip lightly. That's fair. And, I added, if something between us happens, it's because we both want it, not because it's part of some control tactic. She smiled just a little, a tired, relieved smile. Yeah, I prefer that too. For the first time that night, she relaxed. Not the manipulative, I'm melting into you so you'll forget I was weird earlier vibe, but actual relaxation, like she'd been holding a weight for too long. Her hand slid from my shoulder down to my arm, slow and uncertain. Not seductive, more like checking if I was still really there. Can I stay close? She asked quietly. I nodded. Yes. She exhaled as if she'd been waiting for permission she didn't want to admit she needed. She rested her head on my chest again, her hair brushing my jaw. I wrapped one arm around her, not pulling her closer, just settling it there, not claiming, not comforting, just present. A few minutes passed like that. Her breathing shifted into a softer rhythm, the kind people get when their guard finally drops. Then she said something unexpected. You know, when you walked out that morning and said what you said, I thought you didn't care anymore. I care, I replied. I just don't chase. She lifted her head slightly. I noticed. And? I asked. And it scared me, she admitted. But in a way I probably needed. I didn't say anything. She didn't need reassurance. She needed honesty. So I added, you're not losing me, but I'm not losing myself either. She absorbed that, nodded again, and settled back down. Her voice was almost a whisper. Okay, that's fair. We lay like that for a while longer. No tension, no performance, just breathing. Eventually she spoke again, still resting against me. Can I sleep like this? Just close? Yes, I said simply. She whispered, thank you, like I'd allowed her back into a place she forgot wasn't hers by default, but ours, mutually. She fell asleep there, half on my chest, hand curled around my arm like I was some kind of anchor she didn't want drifting away. And as I watched her sleep, one thought settled in my mind, quiet, steady, almost amused. She's finally understanding there's no power play she can win that I'm not even playing. She woke up before me the next morning, which never happens. Usually she sleeps like a rock until I nudge her, poke her, or start making enough noise in the kitchen to trigger her survival instincts. But today, I opened my eyes and she was already watching me. Not creepy. I've been staring at you for 40 minutes watching. More like she was trying to figure out if last night was real or if she dreamed the whole thing. Morning, she said softly. Morning. She gave a tiny smile, the shy kind she hasn't used since our first year together. You slept okay? She asked. Yeah. She nodded like she was collecting data for a report. Good, I'm glad. Then she hesitated, waited, and finally asked, Are we okay? We're talking, I said simply. That's already better than pretending. She bit her lip, then nodded. Yeah, I like this better. I got up to get ready for work. She followed me to the hallway like a shadow with emotional Wi-Fi. When I picked up my bag, she asked quietly, will you come home after work, or gym? Gym first, I said. She nodded at the floor. Okay, just text me so I don't worry. I'll see. That wasn't the answer she wanted. She froze for half a second, then forced a smile. Right, sure, yeah. I leaned in, kissed her cheek lightly and said, see you later. Her eyes widened like she didn't expect that level of calm softness after everything. She touched the spot I kissed like she was checking if it actually happened. When I closed the door behind me, I heard her quietly exhale. Not annoyed, not dramatic. Relieved. At work, I got a grand total of 5 messages from her. Message 1. Hope you're having a good day. Message 2. Don't forget lunch. Message 3. A photo of our cat with the caption, he misses you. Probably. Message 4. What time do you think gym will be? Message 5. Sorry, ignore that. I'm overthinking. I answered one of them. I'll be home later. Clear, neutral, calm. She replied with a single, okay, and then she deleted the heart. And resent, okay, then immediately sent, sorry, habit. I didn't respond. Let her think. When I came home that evening, something was different. The house smelled like actual food again. The table was set, candles lit, soft music playing. It looked like she Googled, how to subtly show your husband you're not playing games anymore, and followed step-by-step instructions. She came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands nervously on a towel. Hi, she said with the kind of hopeful tone kids use when showing a crayon drawing. Hi, I replied. I made dinner, she said. Again. I mean, I can stop if it's too much. Looks good, I said. Her shoulders dropped a bit in relief. We sat down. She poured water into my glass first, which she never does. Usually she pours herself water and forgets I exist until I get my own. Tonight, she was practically auditioning for Best Supporting Wife in a Drama Series. Halfway through the meal, she tried to play it cool and asked, So, how was your day? Productive. She nodded too eagerly. That's great, really great. Yours? I asked. That one caught her off guard. Mine? Normal. Just, thinking. About? She stabbed a piece of chicken like it insulted her. Us. I waited. I've been looking at myself, she said, choosing words carefully. And I think I got too comfortable, too confident that you'd always just be there. No matter what I said. I didn't comment. She exhaled. I don't like the version of me who said that phrase. I didn't either, I said calmly, which is why I responded the way I did. She winced. I deserve that, she said finally. I wasn't punishing you, I replied. I was showing you the line. She nodded, staring at her plate. I get it now. We finished eating quietly but not awkwardly. It felt like the kind of silence 2 adults can have without recharging their weapons. After dinner, I went to sit on the couch. She joined me, again, no surprise. But tonight she didn't glue herself to me immediately. She sat close, yes, but respectful distance, testing the waters, a softer approach. I turned on the TV. She tucked her legs under herself and leaned slightly toward me, but not enough to invade. Just a presence. Then she said, Can I ask something? Sure. When you said that thing about seeing you with someone, did you mean it? Yes, I answered calmly. Not literally, but the idea of it? Yes. She inhaled sharply, like that shook her more than she expected. Right, yeah, makes sense. And then, in a very small voice, I don't want that. I looked at her. Then don't create situations where I have to remind you. She nodded. Slowly. Like every word was sinking in. She moved a little closer, careful, soft, waiting for any sign of rejection. I didn't move away. She placed her hand lightly on my forearm. Is this okay? She asked. Yes. She relaxed instantly, leaning her head on my shoulder. A few minutes passed in quiet comfort. Then she whispered, I like this version of us. I smirked. The version with mutual respect? Yes, she said. That one. It feels real. Her hand traced my arm gently, not seductive, not manipulative. Just a woman choosing closeness without trying to control it. She tilted her head up and said softly, I'm trying. I hope you see that. I do, I replied. And I'll keep trying, she added quickly, like she wanted to make sure that part wasn't optional. I nodded. Good. She let out a tiny laugh. Wow. You're really not letting me get away with anything anymore, huh? Nope. She grinned, half embarrassed, half impressed. Okay, I kinda like this version of you too. She nestled closer, completely relaxed. For the first time in a long time. No superiority, no games, no queen act. Just a woman choosing to be next to her husband, not above him. She whispered, "Stay with me." "I'm here," I said, and without even realizing it, she finally stepped out of the game she created. Because she understood something. She wasn't losing me. She was losing the old dynamic, and the new one was better for both of us. She kept her head on my shoulder for a long time, quiet, steady, almost peaceful. Honestly, it felt nice. Not dramatic, not tense, just two people existing without pretending. But then she did something that instantly told me she was still thinking. A lot. She sat up, pulled her legs in, faced me completely and said, "Can I ask you something personal?" "Oh boy," I said. "That's usually how horror movies start." She smacked my arm lightly. "I'm being serious." "All right," I replied. "Shoot." She hesitated, too long for it to be casual. "If I hadn't changed how I act, if I'd kept that tone, if I kept treating you like something you had to earn, would you really have pulled away?" "Absolutely," she blinked. "That fast?" "Yes." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, like a goldfish experiencing emotional damage. "Oh," she said quietly. "That's your question?" I asked. "No, that was the warm-up question," she muttered. "Here's the real one." I leaned back. "Okay, level 2, boss fight." She rolled her eyes but smiled. "Would you actually consider someone else? Like, really?" "Not if we're good," I said honestly. "But if you turn the relationship into a contest, don't be surprised if I stop competing." Her face did that freeze-unfreeze reaction again. She wasn't angry. She wasn't offended. She was processing. Finally, she whispered, "I don't want anyone else in your life." "Then don't push me out of it," I replied calmly. "Right. Yes, that makes sense," she said quickly, nodding too much. She looked down, fidgeting with her fingers, then added, "I'm sorry." I didn't rush. I didn't jump in with, "It's okay." I let her sit in that moment. "What exactly are you sorry for?" I asked. She looked up, expecting me to save her from the emotional homework, but I wasn't doing that. "I'm sorry for treating intimacy like some currency," she said slowly, "for acting like I was the prize and you had to earn me. And," she swallowed, "and for thinking you'd never call me on it. And," she blinked again, "do I need more?" "You tell me," she sighed. "I'm sorry for taking advantage of the fact that you're a good man and thinking I could get away with anything." There it was, the core, the real thing. I nodded. "Thank you," I said. "That sounds honest?" She relaxed a little. "It is." I turned back to the TV, letting the moment settle. She shifted closer again, curling against my side like she was returning to a place she thought she'd lost. After a few minutes she spoke, quieter this time. "I was scared, you know." "Of what?" "Of you not wanting me." Pause. "Of failing." That surprised me enough to turn toward her. "You? Failing?" "Yeah," she said, cheeks pink. "I know I pretend like I'm the confident one, but I'm not as unshakable as I act." I laughed softly. "No kidding." She scrunched her nose. "You're supposed to say something supportive." "I just did," I said. "You're human." She leaned her head back on my shoulder. "You're annoying. And yet you're glued to my side," I said. "Shut up," she murmured, snuggling closer. We stayed like that for a moment. Her breathing slowed. Her body finally relaxed completely. The tension in her shoulders melted away. People like to say relationships are complicated. I don't think they are. What's complicated is when one person tries to run the relationship like a strategy game and the other one just wants to live like a human being. Weeks passed. She didn't become perfect, and thank God, neither did I. But the tone changed. No queen attitude, no power contests, no earn me nonsense. Instead, real questions, real softness, real respect. One night while we were getting ready for bed, she came up behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist and said, "You know, I didn't lose you. I just almost lost the version of you who tolerated everything." I smirked. "Yeah, he's retired." She laughed into my back. "Good, I like the new one better." "Me too." She turned me around, looked me straight in the eyes and said quietly, "Thanks for not giving up on us, but also not letting me walk all over you." "Balance," I said. "Crazy concept." She nudged me. "Shut up." Then she kissed me, not as a reward, not as leverage, not as a test, just because she wanted to. And that was enough. Because in the end, she didn't need to be earned. And I didn't need to chase. We just needed to choose each other without the games. Simple, grown, balanced. Exactly the way it should have been from the start. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.